Hey folks, welcome back to Infinite Podcast. I'm here with Simon, and we're diving into something today that's been bugging me. Has reality TV ruined our sense of what's truly real? Simon, here's my take. Reality TV is like junk food for our brains. It's scripted chaos that blurs the lines between actual reality and entertainment. People start thinking drama is the norm. What's your take?
Oh, Joe, you're onto some mind-bending stuff, man. But come on, reality TV hasn't ruined our sense of what's real. It's just shown us how bonkers real life can be when you shove a camera in its face. If anything, it's a reality check that some folks need to simmer down with their drama stew.
Remember The Real World? That was supposedly the true life of 7 strangers. Met one of them once. Guy admitted half of what we saw was poking and prodding by producers for ratings. People watch that, start thinking confrontation is a daily dessert. Over time, our palates can't even taste what's genuine anymore. We're living in a world seasoned by reality TV tropes. It's like we're expecting a soundtrack when our neighbor slams their door.
Ha, that's golden. Bet my neighbor wishes he had a theme song.
Definitely, Simon. But let's not downplay the effect. Folks might wish for theme songs, but reality TV's constant drama can skew our expectations of daily life. We don't need cliffhangers and plot twists every Tuesday afternoon at the grocery store. Life has its own rhythm without producers orchestrating our every move.
All right, fact time. Reality TV kicked off in the 90s with shows like The Real World, right? It was fresh, new, but fast forward, and it's everywhere. Shows like Big Brother, Survivor, and Keeping Up with the Kardashians, they've shaped a whole generation's view on life. Every corner we turn, bam, there's a new one. But the kicker. Studies suggest that regular viewers of reality TV accept aggression as a normal part of a relationship. That's wild. And psychologists are out there claiming this stuff impacts our social behavior expectations. So yeah, there definitely seems to be a warp in the space reality continuum thanks to these shows.
I've got a buddy, right? He's a chill guy, but he started binge watching this reality TV show, one with all the made-up drama and backstabbing. Next thing, he's reading into every office interaction like it's a conspiracy. Starts whispering to me about alliances by the water cooler. I'm like, dude, this is not Survivor. That's Phil from accounting, not a tribe member plotting your fiery council exit. Reality TV had him mixing up coworkers with cast members. It's like he was expecting secret votes on who's getting the boot come Friday. Wild.
Haha, that's not paranoia, that's just the Phil effect.
Let's talk numbers. Shows like American Idol pull in millions of viewers. The Bachelor, it's a juggernaut. Now with social media, reality TV has this multiplier effect. Contestants become influencers, and their TV persona keeps playing out in real time online. Here's the clincher. A study from the Girl Scout Research Institute found that girls who regularly watch reality TV expect a higher level of drama, aggression, and bullying in their own lives. They also believe that gossiping is a normal way to relate to friends. See the pattern here? There's real impact beyond the screen. It's shaping attitudes and, to some extent, changing how we interact with each other. It's not just entertainment, it's becoming a blueprint for life by default.
Ironic. Reality TV is scripting our actual reality. That's messed up.
Totally. Life imitating art, except the art's pretty lowbrow here.
You got it, Joe. So, we've got this tidal wave called reality TV, right? Some of the earliest examples, like An American Family in the 70s, zapped audiences with a look into people's lives, unscripted, or so they thought. Fast forward, and MTV pops up with The Real World, which was totally groundbreaking. It's since morphed into this sprawling beast with competitive shows, celeb lives, you name it. Now, these shows get crazy viewership numbers, but check this out. Researchers have been diving into the effect of reality TV on our brains, like one from the University of Missouri, where they found viewers gobbled up idealized reality. Everyone's beautiful, rich, and without problems. That stirs up all kinds of social comparison and life dissatisfaction in regular folks. But let's not forget the flip side. People are savvy, discerning viewers too. They know TV's a polished version of life. And honestly, some just love the drama as a break from the daily grind. Reality TV took normal and ran a marathon with it, leaving some people gasping for what's real.
Sure, a marathon with a hefty dose of fantasy.
Fantasy is the new reality TV fuel, no doubt.
Fantasy keeps reality TV chugging along, blurring the lines.
So let me tell you about my cousin, right? He's convinced his life needs to be as shiny as reality TV. Starts going to the gym, gets a tan, tries to create his brand, if you can believe that. The guy even starts scripting spontaneous outings for Instagram stories, wants that polished, dramatic life. Then he goes on this date, has it all planned out like a reality show's dream sequence. But life ain't a script. They're at dinner, and bam, he spills the wine. Script out the window. She laughs, tells him she loves goofy guys who can just be real for a second. Reality check. He drops the act. They hit it off for real. Turns out she digs him for who he is, not the glitzy image. Made him see which reality was worth living. Quite the plot twist, huh? Reality TV's got nothing on reality itself. It hits back with the truth sometimes.
Life is the best screenwriter, right? Now, speaking of what's real and what's not, let's slide into contemporary art. It straddles the line between eloquent expression and head-scratching confusion. Sometimes you walk into a gallery, see a piece. The artist calls it a juxtaposition of postmodern existential dread, and all you see is a smashed watermelon. Makes you wonder, is it a deep statement, or are they just messing with us? What's your take on this, Simon?
Reality TV, the gift that keeps on giving drama. But speaking of drama and head-scratchers, let's talk contemporary art. You walk into a gallery expecting some strokes of genius, but sometimes I swear they're only strokes of what now. Like, I love when art makes me feel. But then you get those pieces where if you gotta explain it to me for 20 minutes, buddy, we've lost the magic. Smashed watermelon? Please tell me there's at least some vodka involved.
Contemporary art definitely sparks debate. Is it deep, or just mess pretending to be deep? You can't always tell. Let's pivot from messy reality shows to equally messy art. It raises questions. What's considered artistic genius nowadays? Can anything be art if someone says so? Simon, what's the most out there art piece you've encountered?
You know, the art world is a trip. I remember this one piece. It was just a dirty sneaker in a glass box. The plaque read, "Modern Society's Isolation," and I'm there thinking it's more like my gym locker's isolation. But hey, if art's in the eye of the beholder, then everything could be a masterpiece, right? Or maybe someone's just yanking our chain. All right, let's wade into the deep end with contemporary art. It's eloquent or just plain confusing. Here's the wild ride, Joe. What makes people stare at a canvas with a dot and go, profound, while others just see, well, a dot? It's the whole beauty is in the eye of the beholder thing flipped on its head. Sometimes, art seems like a practical joke that got taken seriously.
Art's ability to divide opinion is part of its charm. What's a dirty sneaker for one may be deep commentary for another. But here's where I stand. If you need a booklet to decipher art, maybe it's gone too far. Or am I being too harsh? Shifting gears, let's talk contemporary music. That's another form of art. Sometimes you've got lyrics so cryptic they might as well be hieroglyphs, but the beat just hooks you in. Ever feel like you're vibing to a song without having a clue what it's actually about? Simon, hit me with your thoughts on this musical mystery tour. Hey everyone, welcome back to Infinite Podcast, where your brain does the thinking and we do the talking. I'm your host, and alongside me, as always, is Simon. Today we're diving deep into the rabbit hole, tackling a massive puzzle, unraveling the enigma of consciousness. So Simon, consciousness, what's your take on this mind-boggling phenomenon?
Oh, Consciousness, huh? It's like trying to read the fine print on a shampoo bottle without my glasses, blurry and confusing. But hey, you wake up, you know you're not a toaster, right? That's got to count for something.
Definitely not a toaster. Awareness has to mean something, right?
Sure, awareness is the line between us and robots, Joe.
That awareness question is huge. But now let's switch gears. We've got another mind twister. Get ready to jump dimensions as we attempt to save Schrodinger's poor cat. We're going deep into the concept of parallel universes. Simon, drop your thoughts. How packed do you think this multiverse is?
Like a subway at rush hour, Joe, packed to the brim.
All right, shifting gears to something less cosmic, but just as intriguing. I read about this Spanish town where the mayor doubles as a clown. No joke. In his red nose and oversized shoes, he governs by day and performs by night. Can you imagine town hall meetings? Instead of filibusters, you get balloon animals. It's democracy with a side of slapstick. Makes you wonder about taking politics less seriously, doesn't it?
Mayor by day, clown by night, politics just got fun.
Right, so there's this little town in Spain that's flipped the script on politics. Picture it, election day, citizens casting votes. But here's the twist. They're voting for a guy who literally steps into office with big, floppy shoes. This mayor clown doesn't just lead with policies, he leads with punchlines. Townsfolk get their daily dose of laughter with their legislation. Makes you think, maybe we all need a bit more humor in our governance. Now that's a platform I could get behind.
All right, but imagine trying to take anything seriously. You're there for a parking permit, and the dude's honking a horn. Fun's fun, but who's running the show? Gotta draw the line somewhere, Joe.
Imagine this, Simon. There's a lady, let's call her Maria. She's all business, walks into the town hall, briefcase in hand, ready to discuss a new playground for the local kids. She's met with a burst of confetti and the mayor in full clown makeup. She's thrown off, sure, but then as they sit and talk, the mayor juggles while explaining his very sound, thoroughly researched plans for the playground. By the end, Maria's not only convinced about the plans, but she leaves with a balloon giraffe for her daughter. It's unconventional, but hey, if the shoe fits, or in this case, if the oversized shoe fits.
Oh, joke's on us, Joe, because there isn't actually a clown doubling as a mayor. But if we dive into this hypothetical fun fest, we could say that having a mayor who's also a professional entertainer could genuinely lighten up the mood in a town. He's got a knack for making people smile while handling the twists and turns of politics, kind of like juggling tax reform with one hand and water balloons with the other. Sure, it's not real, but what a circus of civic engagement that would be.
Gotcha, Simon. But let's roll with it anyway. If such a jester were in charge, we'd see a fusion of entertainment and policy. It wouldn't be the first time performers took political office. Think Ronald Reagan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, even Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky. They brought their star power and showbiz skills to governance. Our hypothetical clown mayor could use comedic timing to diffuse tense meetings or to explain policies in layman's terms. His antics might increase public engagement. After all, who wouldn't tune in to see the mayor's next act? It's about balancing the act of governance with the lure of the spotlight. No small feat for our imaginary mayor clown.
Imagine the campaign slogans, Joe, vote for Chuckles, seriously funny politics.
Yes, Simon, the slogan's catchy, but here's the flip side. If your mayor's dressed like a clown, it could turn the town's issues into one big joke. Sure, he might be a riot at parades, but what about crisis management? You want someone who can handle emergencies with gravity. Trust in leadership might take a hit because it's hard to picture a guy in a wig and a red nose tackling serious social and economic challenges. Giggles in government. Sounds like fun until you remember that running a town is serious business, not just performance art.
Tough to laugh with real problems on your doorstep, Joe?
Absolutely, Simon. Even in a whimsical world with a clown for a mayor, the glitter can't cover up potholes. It's essential to remember that leadership is about action, not just distraction. When people need jobs, healthcare, and security, they won't be satisfied with a pie in the face. The novelty of a performing politician wears thin without results. It's fine to have a sense of humor, but at the end of the day, people need a mayor, not a mime.
Clowning's cool, reality's king. Results trump the circus ring, Joe.
Couldn't have said it better. Results matter most, Simon.
For sure, Joe. But let's leave the political circus tent and dive into something equally maze-like, the legendary labyrinths of Egypt. You ever heard about those, Joe? People argue if they're real or just a myth. I mean, I get lost in my own backyard, so imagine me trying to navigate one of those Egyptian mazes.
Actually, Simon, some folks argue those Egyptian labyrinths are just a product of the ancients' vivid imaginations. They say Herodotus might have exaggerated tales he heard, or maybe he mistook complex temple designs for an actual maze. There's also a lack of solid archaeological evidence pinpointing a colossal labyrinth. It's possible these were metaphors for the intricate journey to the afterlife or the twisted path of Egyptian mythology, not literal stone mazes. So, as much as I love a good mystery without hard evidence, the skeptic in me leans towards myth over reality.
Myths are cool, but I'll wait for the facts, Joe.
Facts rule until then. Labyrinths remain a compelling tall tale.
Fiction or not, magnetizing story. Either way, Joe?
Sure, the tales might seem larger than life, Simon, but here's a thought. Many myths are rooted in some truth. The ancient Egyptians were master builders, and we've only unearthed a fraction of their civilization. Just look at the underground tombs and complex structures we've found so far. It's not entirely implausible that a grand labyrinth existed. Plus, there's a pattern across various cultures of building intricate mazes, suggesting they were more than fanciful stories. So even if the physical evidence isn't there yet, the possibility can't be dismissed outright. Sometimes what history leaves behind is as much about what we haven't found as what we have.
History's like a treasure hunt. Never know what you'll dig up.
Exactly. Every shovel of dirt could rewrite what we know.
That's the thrill of history for you, Joe.
All right, Simon, let's gear up for a brief historical expedition. The legend of the Egyptian labyrinth dates back to Herodotus in the 5th century BC. He described it as a structure surpassing the pyramids, with 12 covered courts and thousands of rooms full of hieroglyphs. Some say it could have been inspired by the vast mortuary temple complex of Pharaoh Amenemhat III at Hawara. Yet, despite various attempts, no definitive labyrinth has been unearthed. This intertwines with the mythical tale of the Minotaur's labyrinth on Crete, which suggests that constructing such intricate structures might not be purely fictional, but a common practice in varied ancient cultures used for different ceremonial and social purposes. Myth or not, many researchers today are tenaciously searching for clues. Who knows, maybe one discovery could turn the tales into reality.
Researchers digging for myths or a massive history-altering maze, huh?
Treasure hunters of time, those researchers are.
Digging up the past, piece by thrilling piece.
Absolutely, it's history's captivating jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, every piece could change the entire picture, Joe.
One shard might just redefine our entire understanding, Simon.
Joe, so check this out. This guy, let's call him Chuck, goes to Egypt, right? He's obsessed with finding this legendary labyrinth. He's got no map, just big dreams and a shovel. Chuck's digging like a maniac, telling everyone he's going to find the ancient world's biggest maze. Days turn into weeks, and it's just sand, more sand, and surprise, sand. But then, bam! Chuck unearths this old chunky rock with some funky scribbles. Crowd goes wild. Turns out it's just an ancient shopping list. One camel, some figs, oh, and a six-pack of beer. The real labyrinth still MIA, but Chuck, dude, became a local legend, the guy who found Pharaoh's grocery run.
So Chuck's the Indiana Jones of supermarket archaeology now.
Yeah, he's got the can-do aisle instead of a whip.
Chuck might have stumbled onto a list for beer and figs, but the idea of Egyptian labyrinths is steeped in historical accounts. Herodotus, the Greek historian, pinned the labyrinth as more impressive than the pyramids, built with intricate complexity. This isn't a standalone story. Both Pliny the Elder and Strabo echoed its existence. Fast forward to today, archaeologists and geologists use ground-penetrating radar to uncover potential underground structures akin to a labyrinth. Their focus is not merely on myth-chasing, but on piecing together past civilizations, their architectural prowess, resource management, and cultural intricacies. One can only speculate if these labyrinths were symbolic, sepulchral, or civil in nature. Each discovery triggers a reevaluation of known history and the potential of what might still be buried under the golden sands of Egypt.
Herodotus would have geeked out over ground-penetrating radar, huh, Joe?
You're not kidding, Simon. Herodotus would have killed for ground penetration.
Yeah, Joe. It brings the past to life in ways old Herodotus could only dream of. Speaking of mysteries, have you heard about the latest Bermuda Triangle story? Ships vanishing into thin air, poof, like my last paycheck. What's the deal with this spooky sea triangle, huh?
You're not kidding, Simon. Herodotus would have killed for ground-penetrating radar. All right, folks, let's excavate some facts on Egypt's labyrinths. The idea of an Egyptian labyrinth was first recorded by Herodotus. He described it as a marvel surpassing the pyramids, with 3,000 rooms and a complex design. Now, no one's found anything that grand yet, but let's not forget archaeologists did discover the mysterious underground complex at Hawara. Some speculate it's a part of the legendary labyrinth. No colossal maze yet, but who knows? Egypt still could be hiding a big secret. Tech like radar just might dig it up someday, without a single shovel needed. How's that for cutting-edge history?
Egypt's history is a treasure hunt, and radars our map. Egypt's history is a treasure hunt, and radars our map.
Joe, imagine this. Captain Skip and his crew sailing the Bermuda Triangle. Skies are clear, the sea's calm, the sun's out and soaking them in that weirdly warm Bermuda glow. They're all chatting about what they'll do with their treasure, back on land. Classic pirate dreams, you know? Cue the creepy music. Suddenly, the compass starts spinning like a kid on a sugar rush. Boom! Out of nowhere, Joe, imagine this. Captain Skip and his crew sailing the Bermuda Triangle. Skies are clear, the sea's calm, the sun's out and soaking them in that weirdly warm Bermuda glow. They're all chatting about what they'll do with their treasure, back on land. Classic pirate dreams, you know? Cue the creepy music. Suddenly, the compass starts spinning like a kid on a sugar rush. Boom! Out of nowhere, bewildering fog blankets the ship. The crew's freaking out, thinking, shouldn't have laughed at those old sailors' tales. Then, weirder than a platypus in a top hat, intense waves, lighting up like a busted neon sign, swallowing the ship whole. When the fog lifts, all that's left is a lonely seagull looking confused as ever. So, our boy Skip and his salty sea dogs, they become another Bermuda mystery, joining the ranks of a long list of disappearing acts. And out there, someone's probably whispering, it's aliens. All right, Joe, what's next on the ghost ship gossip train? Ladies and gents, welcome back to the Infinite Podcast. I'm your host, ready to turn thoughts inside out. Today, we're poking at a bear of a question. Can humor exist without pain? Delving into comedy philosophy. Simon, I've heard chuckles born from sheer joy, but isn't the funniest comedy always a little ouch?
Oh, absolutely, Joe. You ever notice how people burst out laughing at friends tripping over? It's like slapstick 101. But let's not forget those belly laughs from pure silliness. No pain there, unless you count aching cheeks.
Simon, this reminds me of when my buddy tried to deadlift at the gym, way over his limit. Down he goes, barbell clatters, pride bruised. Everyone's trying not to laugh, but it's futile. Then he joins in laughing, turning his mishap into a moment of bonding rather than embarrassment. Pain sparked the humor, sure, but it was the shared humanity that had us in stitches.
Joe, sticking to the comedy philosophy topic, let's drop some knowledge. Philosophers like Thomas Hobbes and Henry Bergson actually touched on this. Hobbes said laughter is often about the sudden glory we feel when we realize we're better off than someone else. Ouch for them, right? Bergson believed humor needs a little mechanical inelasticity, kind of like someone slipping on a banana peel. What should be graceful isn't, and we find it hilarious. But there's a flip side. Think of kids playing peekaboo, pure joy, no pain. So yeah, humor often has a sting, but sometimes it's just about the absurdity of life itself.
Spot on with Hobbes and Bergson, Simon. They scoped out the landscape of laughter. Let's add to that. Psychologists say humor helps us cope, kind of a mental band-aid. Makes sense, right? We laugh off the tough stuff. Take gallows humor, dark, yet it keeps spirits up. And about kids and peekaboo, it's delight without the plight, shows us joys just as capable of tickling our funny bones. Conclusion, humor's a chameleon, Simon, changing shades with the situation.
Joe, a mental band-aid, huh? Spot on. Humor's like the Swiss Army knife of emotions, versatile and super handy in a jam. I mean, imagine how dull life would be if we couldn't laugh at our own blunders or find some comic relief in the everyday grind. Whether it's cracking up at someone's epic fail or just giggling at a silly joke, laughter is that glue holding us together when life tries to tear us a new one. Humor definitely adapts, and that's its superpower.
No kidding, a life without chuckles is like a podcast without listeners. Pointless. We're all a bit clumsy, a little imperfect, and that's where the gold is. Ever laugh at a joke that's so bad it's good? That's humor with zero casualties, my friend. And yet, when we faceplant in life, being able to laugh at ourselves, that's resilience in action. Adapt and overcome with humor. It's survival of the wittiest out here.
For sure, resilience and a good chuckle are best buddies. On the serious side, research in positive psychology shows that humor isn't just a nice-to-have. It's key for well-being and dealing with life's curveballs. Like, did you know that laughter releases endorphins and cuts stress hormones? And it's more than just feel-good vibes. Some studies suggest that a good sense of humor can even extend our lifespan. Plus, you're right about bad jokes. When we laugh at those, no one's hurt except maybe the English language. Humor without pain not only exists, but it's vibrant and life-affirming in its purest form.
Absolutely, Simon. Endorphins are like Mother Nature's own brand of happy pills. That belly laugh isn't just for kicks. It's a workout for your insides and a chill pill for your brain. Studies back this. Laughter bolsters immune responses and even acts like a natural painkiller. Plus, consider this. Humor is a social tool. It's how we signal we're part of the tribe. Our ancestors probably chuckled around the fire after narrowly missing becoming saber-toothed dinner. Humor's evolution wired us to find light in the dark, and yeah, to tickle those brain cells without necessarily poking at our bruises.
Social tool, survival tactic, humor's in our DNA, no doubt.
Definitely, humor is hardwired in our genetic blueprint. Diving deeper, laughter and smiling are universal signals of companionship. They've been a part of human behavior since before language. Theories on why we laugh range from creating bonds within groups to a way of showing we understand and appreciate irony or surprise. And when we talk pain-free humor, cognitive neuroscience suggests that it taps into the benign violation theory, where something seems off-kilter in a non-threatening way, sparking laughs. There's also relief theory, where laughter acts as a release valve for built-up tension or energy. In comedies or sitcoms, the straight man often sets up a joke, allowing for the comedian to deliver the punchline without actual harm, a pure, shared laugh situation.
So, Joe, I've got this tale that's spot on for our chat about pain-free giggles. Picture this. I'm at this swanky dinner party, right? Everyone's a tad uptight, suits and ties, the whole 9 yards. This guy stands up, looks serious enough to run for office. You can tell he's itching to crack a joke, loosen the neckties a bit. So he starts off with, "What do you call cheese that isn't yours?" The room goes dead silent. You could hear a crouton drop. Then he delivers the punchline. "Nacho cheese." It was so bad it looped right back around to hilarious. People are snorting and howling. No falls, slips, or trips required. Just pure cheese in this case, quite literally. That joke was a perfect example of taking something skewed, like cheese belonging to someone else, and turning it into a universal laugh without anyone getting a bruise. Consider this, buddy. Comedy, sometimes, is simply the joy of shared absurdity.
Haha, Simon. That's the charm of a cheesy joke, pun intended. It's relatability wrapped in simplicity and served at just the right moment. It reminds everyone not to take life too seriously. Now, transitioning to the lighter side of life, let's chew on this week's giggle. Goats invading a yoga class. Imagine your mid-downward dog, and bam, enter the goat brigade. It's like combining serenity with a petting zoo. These little guys are leaping on backs, nibbling on mats, turning mindfulness into mayhem. Only question is, could you keep your zen with a curious goat staring into your soul?
Zen with goats? Impossible. I'd be laughing too hard, Joe.
Goats are the unplanned yoga gurus of joy, Simon.
Oh, Joe, you'll love this. A buddy of mine decides to surprise his girlfriend with a yoga class, right? But the twist, it's goat yoga, the latest craze. Now, my friend is as flexible as a 2x4 plank, so he's already in over his head. They're there, trying to strike a pose, and in waltzes a herd of goats. Instead of peace and quiet, it's bleats and bahs all around. First down dog he attempts, a goat decides it's the perfect time for a mountaineer impression. Right on his back. My buddy's face? A mix of shock and please save me. He hasn't noticed the goats chewing on his hair. The class is rolling, laughing harder than they'd ever meditated. Guess who came out a yogi and an accidental goat whisperer by the end of it? Yup, that guy. Now that's turning an invading herd into an enlightening horde.
Goat yoga, blending fitness with a taste of the farm.
Oh, it's a fitness trend that really got my goat, in the best way. Now, speaking of myths and legends, ever heard that tale about Nero fiddling while Rome burned? Total historical mythbuster moment here. No way could Nero have fiddled because, guess what? The fiddle didn't even exist then. He couldn't have been stringing along any tunes during that disaster. Makes you wonder what else from history we've got all mixed up, huh?
History's ripe for a fact check, and Nero's fiddle? Classic mix-up.
Okay, Joe, busting myths is a hoot, so let's unravel this Nero fiddle fable. Turns out, some cheeky ancient historian must have been spinning yarns because back in Nero's day, the fiddle was as real as the smartphone was in the Stone Age. So picture ancient Rome, 64 AD. Flames are gobbling up the city, and there's Emperor Nero. Legend painted him as a beyond bad guy playing his fiddle while Rome went up in smoke. But let's hit pause and rewind. First off, no fiddles back then. We're talking lyres or something. Now here's where it gets juicy. Stories say old Nero was actually out of town when the fire happened. Gets better. He comes back and opens up his gardens for the homeless and rebuilds the city with better fire codes. Talk about a PR nightmare, right? This fiddle tale was probably cooked up later by folks who weren't exactly his fan club. It's like, hey, how do we make this guy look like the ultimate villain? Let's say he threw a concert for one while the city got roasted. Wild how these things turn into facts, isn't it?
Well, hold on, Simon. Some think there's smoke to the fire of Nero's infamy. Consider why that myth endures. It might be about the fiddle, but it's really about Nero's reputation. He was seen by many as a tyrant, so the fiddle story could symbolize his indifference to Rome's suffering. It's possible historians used it as a metaphor for his rule, detached, self-indulgent. While there may have been exaggeration over time, it doesn't mean there wasn't some truth in the essence of Nero's character. That image resonates because it reflects deeper truths people observed during his reign.
Joe, you've got a point. The fiddle story sticks because it paints Nero in a too busy with me time to care about the inferno kind of light. It's a tale as old as time. Someone gets labeled the bad guy, and suddenly, everything they do is seen through villain goggles. Much like a game of ancient telephone. Start with a ruler who's a bit of a diva, throw in a disaster, and by the time the story gets around, he's the lead villain in a citywide barbecue. It's less about the fiddle and more about Nero's legacy being roasted over the coals of public opinion.
Absolutely. Let's shed light on that narrative. This image of Nero playing the fiddle originated from writings that came after his reign, notably by historians like Tacitus, Suetonius, and Cassius Dio, who weren't exactly his fans. The fiddle was likely a mistranslation or creative liberty. Nero might have played the lyre or cithara, more fitting instruments for the time. Furthermore, these accounts were written with a decent dose of bias. Consider this. Nero did have a flair for the arts, often participating in theater and music, which was seen as un-emperor-like behavior, fueling his negative portrayal. Regarding the fire itself, it's actually reported that Nero organized relief efforts after the blaze, including opening his palaces to provide shelter and ordering food supplies to prevent starvation. So while he was no saint and his rule was controversial, the fiddling story is a potent mix of metaphor and political smear, not a literal event. It's a classic example of history being colored by the perspectives of those who write it.
Right, Joe. So we dug a bit on old Nero and his infamous concert. Picture this. The year is 64 AD. Rome is cooking up like a barbecue pit, and Emperor Nero's supposedly putting on a one-man show with a fiddle, a historical impossibility. Here's where the record scratches. Some sleuthing reveals Nero likely strummed no strings as Rome crisped up. Our boy may have had a rep for enjoying the limelight, a real drama king who got a kick out of the arts, but playing a fire-themed solo while his city turned to ash? Far-fetched, according to the historians writing after the fact. The truth? Dude was apparently out of town when Rome decided to combust spontaneously. Returns, sees the fallout, acts like a humanitarian all-star, opens gates, slashes food prices, throws a toga over the homeless. Not exactly the deeds of a heartless fiddler, right? So how did we get from philanthropist to flame-ignoring fiddler? Seems like this started as political graffiti, painting Nero with the darkest shades possible. We got a metaphor on fire, a symbol for Nero's alleged indifference. But truths in history get warped, like a vinyl in the sun. What really happened that hot Roman night remains a bit of smoke and mirrors.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Historical tales often need peeling back like layers of an onion. That said, let's pivot to another enigma that's had people scratching their heads for ages, the lost colony of Roanoke. Now there's a mystery that makes Nero's fiddle look like child's play, a whole colony, poof, vanishing into thin air. Croatoan carved into a post and nothing else. No definitive clues, just theories. It's one for the books, overtaking detective novels in intrigue. What's your take, Simon?
Oh, Roanoke? Utterly bonkers. Lost colonists, cryptic carvings, a historical whodunit.
Totally bizarre, like they vanished into a historical black hole.
Sure, Joe, the lost colony of Roanoke is the kind of mystery that could give Sherlock Holmes a run for his money. Here's the lowdown. Back in 1587, English settlers land on Roanoke Island, now in North Carolina, to start a new life in the New World. John White, the colony's governor, sails back to England for supplies. But when he finally returns in 1590, all he finds is Croatoan, etched onto a post and crow on a tree. No people, no struggle signs, nada. Just the island, doing its island thing, colonist-free. Fast forward through history, every theory from integration with local tribes to Spanish foul play has been thrown into the mix. Yet, the big question mark remains. So while we're all waiting for a time machine to fact-check what went down, the lost colony's status, still ghosting us.
Integration theories have some weight. Disappearance still mystifying, though.
True, integration theory's plausible, the real story's still up for grabs.
But here's a counter. If the Roanoke settlers mixed with local tribes, wouldn't there be clearer historical or archaeological evidence? It's odd that there aren't concrete records of this. And what about those carvings? Sure, they could point to local tribes, but why no goodbye note? No other clues? The integration idea is tidy, but it lacks conclusive proof, and history abhors a vacuum. We've got to consider darker theories too, like a disastrous fate that left no survivors to tell the tale.
Dark theories, maybe, but still, a total historical head-scratcher, Joe.
Absolutely. It's like history left us on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, cliffhangers are the worst, especially in history. With Roanoke, it goes like this. So we've got 115 settlers under Governor John White's lead landing in 1587. They were supposed to make a happy new town, but supply issues forced White to sail back to England, leaving his fam and everyone else behind. Plot twist, though. England's war with Spain means he can't zip back as planned. Fast forward 3 years, when he finally gets back to Roanoke, and it's all welcome to Ghost Town Central. They've gone full Houdini on him, and the Croatoan clue? That's pretty much all they left. For years, peeps have been piecing together this puzzle, sifting through archaeological finds, looking at DNA evidence, even trying to retrace the colonists' possible steps. Yet, no dice. Just theories from going native with tribes like the Croatans to getting wiped out by disease or by other locals not thrilled about these new tenants. And history buffs. Don't get me started on those Dare stones claimed to have been carved by Eleanor Dare. Most call it old-time fake news. But hey, that persistent enigma of Roanoke seems like history's version of a best-selling thriller, minus the last page.
For sure, Simon. Roanoke is the ultimate cold case, enough to make any history detective's head spin. But speaking of mysteries that keep us on our toes, let's tackle another domestic enigma from everyday life, missing socks. You know, the way they vanish from the dryer as if by magic? This isn't just a laundry issue. It sparked a whole bunch of cultural superstitions. Some people swear there's a sock monster who snacks on our footwear. Others reckon it's mischievous spirits. There's even an Icelandic folktale about the Yule lads, mischievous creatures that snatch up socks if they're not tucked away properly. What are some far-out sock superstitions you've heard, Simon? Or got a theory of your own about where all those missing socks go?
All right, Joe, so Roanoke has had its mystery moment, but honestly, waiting for a Hollywood ending on that is like watching paint dry. But speaking of things going AWOL, those sock-snatching gremlins. Now that's a Sherlock-worthy case. Sock superstitions? My grandma was convinced there's a sock underworld behind the washing machine. Toss in one too many mismatched socks, and boom, you've disturbed the balance, unleashed the chaos. Socks start vanishing like free samples at a food court. But hey, changing lanes to another slice of weirdness. Are we being followed by ducks now? You gotta hear this, guys. The other day I'm walking in the park, minding my own very important business, when I notice this duck. It's tagging along like it's got my number, Joe. What's the deal? Is it after my breadcrumbs, or am I the chosen one in some duck prophecy? I mean, if ducks are starting to take cues from those old spy movies, then maybe, just maybe, we should start worrying about the pigeons, right?
Well, Simon, ducks following humans isn't totally out of spy movie territory. It's grounded in their behavior. Ducks are naturally curious creatures, and they're known for imprinting, a process where young animals start to follow and mimic the first moving object they see after hatching, usually their mother. Could be that a duckling once mistook a human for its mom, a case of mistaken identity if ever there was one. But let's not discount the breadcrumb theory. Ducks have a knack for zeroing in on easy food sources. Humans often equal snacks in the duck world, so they might trail people hoping for a handout, even if you're not the duck whisperer you suspect you might be. And your pigeon comment? Those birds are among the best navigators around. They've got a history as war heroes who carried messages across enemy lines. If they start acting like spooks from a Cold War flick, then maybe we should be worried. Or at least consider sending them on some intelligence missions. So, have you come across any particularly bold animal encounters lately? Or do you think our feathered friends are upping their game recently?
Bold squirrels, they're the true snack bandits of city parks.
Ducks might seem like harmless waddlers, but there's more to these birds than meets the eye. They're actually highly adaptable. intelligent creatures that have learned how to leverage resources in their environment, especially around humans. Unlike their wild ancestors, urban ducks associate people with food, thanks to the constant handouts in parks. Their following behavior isn't just about getting fed, though. Ducks are social animals, and they can become quite friendly or assertive when they suss out a potential meal ticket. And it's not just adult ducks. Ducklings imprint, which means they can start following anything that moves and provides sustenance. In the wild, ducks are also migratory. They travel vast distances and have exceptional navigation skills. This innate GPS could add to why they seem to follow or track movements as precisely as they do. They're always surveying their landscape, which in city parks includes us humans. So while we might entertain humorous images of covert duck operatives tailing us for breadcrumbs, there's actually a lot of instinct and learned behavior behind their actions. It's urban wildlife adaptation at its finest, or perhaps it's just the beginning of the duck surveillance regime. Keep your eyes peeled.
So ducks, they're not just winging it out here. They've got their own version of street smarts. Gotta respect our feathered overlords. But speaking of savvy characters, let's dive into the sitcom sea. It's the battle of the quirky sitcom families. Nobody does weird, lovable chaos like these TV tribes. On one side, we've got the Belchers from Bob's Burgers flipping patties and jokes. Then, there's the Pritchett Dunphy crew from Modern Family, redefining family goals with every shenanigan. But I'm tossing a vote for the OG quirky fam, The Simpsons. Come on, yellow skin, 4 fingers, and over 30 seasons of hilarity? That's prime couch real estate. But spill, Joe, who steals your sitcom heart?
Can't beat the classics, The Simpsons all the way.
Ah, the beloved sitcom families. The Simpsons, reigning champs. Springfield's first family, delighting viewers since 1989 with their satirical slice of American life. From the donut-loving, bumbling Homer to the ever-patient Marge, not forgetting rebellious Bart, altruistic Lisa, and pacifier-popping Maggie. Then swoop into the Belcher clan from Bob's Burgers with a side of humor as flavorful as their specials, a relatively new kid on the block, 2011, yet they won our hearts with their unique bond and burger puns. Coming in with a mockumentary style, Modern Family shook up the scene in 2009, showcasing the blended Pritchett-Dunphy household. Their modern take on family dynamics, combined with a candid camera vibe, got viewers hooked until their hilarious and heartfelt finale in 2020. With these shows, it's like every day's a Thanksgiving episode, where everything's chaotic, but you wouldn't have it any other way. All right, Joe, your turn. What's cooking in your sitcom kitchen?
The Simpsons set the table. Everyone else just brings a dish.
The Simpsons, created by Matt Groening, are considered the trailblazers when it comes to animated sitcoms. Debuting in 1989 on Fox, it remains the longest-running primetime scripted show in TV history. The satirical depiction of a working-class American family has given us iconic characters and cultural catchphrases galore. Bob's Burgers, joining the animated family scene in 2011, focuses on Bob Belcher and his unique family as they run a burger joint. The show has a more indie vibe and embraces the awkward yet heartwarming moments of a tightly knit, downstairs home, upstairs business household. Modern Family hit the airways in 2009, spinning the sitcom format with its mockumentary approach. The Pritchett-Dunphy Tucker clan gave us insights into diverse family setups that were more reflective of contemporary society and won numerous awards for its fresh take on familial dynamics. These sitcom families, while all quite different, each bring their own flavor to the table, making the argument of who's best more of a personal preference based on comedy tastes as they collectively redefine TV entertainment through their uniqueness.
All unique, all funny, but The Simpsons take my top spot.
Ah, Battle Royale, sitcom style. The Simpsons are the undisputed heavyweight champs in this ring. They started what's essentially the televised tradition of the quirky animated family. It's been over 30 years of Homer's dough and Bart's pranks. Then, if The Simpsons set the table, Family Guy brought the irreverent uncle into the mix in 1999. Seth MacFarlane's brainchild gave us the Griffins, who pushed the envelope even further on family dysfunction and pop culture jabs. Enter Bob's Burgers, with the lovably offbeat Belcher family in 2011. They blend relatable family drama with an indie comic flavor that's hard to resist. There's something heartwarming about their not-so-smooth running burger biz and constant antics. And let's not forget that Modern Family brought the sitcom into the 21st century living room with a diverse and multi-generational ensemble that felt fresh, capturing hearts with wit and warmth while challenging and changing traditional sitcom formulas. These families, whether animated or live action, steal our hearts by reflecting our own families back at us, just with better punchlines. So, The Simpsons might top your list, and they've certainly earned their spot, but it's cool how every show offers a different flavor of comedy to savor.
The Simpsons indeed set a high bar, and each of these shows offers their own hilarious slice of life. They all have a place at the sitcom family table. Switching gears, let's ponder this. Can happiness be measured? Diving into the philosophy of joy. Some folks say happiness is like a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more elusive it becomes. But if we're talking metrics and scales, it seems we try to quantify everything nowadays. Yet, there's something deeply personal about joy that numbers just can't capture. Simon, what's your take on measuring the unmeasurable?
So you want to measure happiness, huh? There's this buddy of mine, right? Picture him standing there with a ruler, trying to catch this butterfly that's just fluttering all willy-nilly. Wild, I know. He's got this grand plan. Build a happiness scale. Starts off simple. Rate your day 1 to 10. But it's like nailing jelly to the wall. A 7-day, because he found $1 on the sidewalk, turns into an 8-day when his crush texts back. But then it's a hard 4 when his favorite team loses. Wrecked it. Turns out, happiness isn't just some number. It's like that favorite song on the radio. It hits right when you need it, but try timing that magic. Good luck. So yeah, we got scales and surveys, but the good stuff? It's more like catching lightning in a bottle. Catch my drift, Joe?
Absolutely, Simon. Happiness is too fluid for a fixed scale.
Oh man, this reminds me of my Aunt Tilda. She had this hilarious idea to crack the happiness code. Decided every Sunday dinner was going to be the official check-in for the family's weekly joy levels. Wild, right? So there we are, passing mashed potatoes, while Aunt Tilda's got a clipboard like some sort of joy referee, barking out, on a scale of 1 to 10, how's your bliss, kiddo? I mean, you gotta laugh. Here's the kicker. My cousin Billy thinks he's a smart cookie, tells her, the pursuit of happiness is a fundamental right? So I'm chasing joy at a strong 9 this week, because I finally beat my high score on Space Invaders. Aunt Tilda, she just rolls her eyes and scribbles down his bliss level. But every time she asked, no joke, our numbers were all over the map. Proves it right there, doesn't it? Happiness is as measurable as my chances of becoming an astronaut. Let's just say, not sky high.
Absolutely, Simon. Aunt Tilda's onto something quirky with her joy referee bit, but capturing happiness isn't so cut and dry. Philosophically, joy's a subject debated for centuries. Big names like Aristotle had their take, dubbing it eudaimonia, framing it as life flourishing rather than moments of feeling good. Fast forward to now, and there's the World Happiness Report, where countries are ranked based on factors like income, freedom, and trust, suggesting we can measure happiness to some degree. Scientists also weigh in, pointing to dopamine levels and brain scans, trying to track our bliss biologically. But at its core, the visceral feeling of joy, that deep contentment or elation, it defies a universal ruler. It's personal, fleeting, and let's be honest, sometimes a beautiful mystery.
Personal mysteries are the best kind, aren't they, Joe?
For sure, Simon. Joy's personal aspect is what keeps philosophers high-fiving or duking it out across ages. Aristotle saw happiness as the ultimate goal of human existence. To him, it was about virtue and a life well lived rather than fleeting pleasures. These ancient thoughts resurface in our modern quest for fulfillment, mindfulness, and the good life. Recent science tries quantifying happiness through psychology and neuroscience. They've got fancy terms like subjective well-being as a marker. Surveys ask people to gauge their own happiness. It's subjective, but gives us a macro look at happiness trends. Then there's positive psychology, pioneered by folks like Martin Seligman. It isn't just about fixing what's wrong with us, but nurturing what's right. Looking inward, finding strengths, building resilience, that's their recipe for joy. Couple that with biological stuff like neurotransmitter activity in the brain, dopamine, serotonin, all that cocktail, and we're starting to see why some people might feel perennially perky and others not so much. So, while there can't be one exact happiness yardstick for all, we are edging closer to understanding its elements. Yet at the end of the day, some things remain tantalizingly intangible. Like trying to explain why a sunset makes your heart swell, some joy just can't be tallied up.
You're so right, Joe. The joy yardstick is more like a rubber band, stretches in all directions, right? But that's what makes it so fascinating. It keeps us searching, and honestly, that search keeps life spicy. Speaking of things that can't be tallied up, have you heard about the hilarious meme election? Picture this, social media platforms throwing their hats into the political ring. Can you imagine the campaigns? Twitter would be all about keeping it under 280 characters, slogans like making policy brief again. Facebook's platform would be reunions and remembering birthdays, the family-friendly choice. Instagram, pure charisma, all style and pizzazz. And TikTok, well, that campaign would be one big dance-off. It's wild to think about.
A meme election, now there's a reality show waiting to happen. Each platform's quirks magnified into full-blown political personas. Can you picture Reddit playing the dark horse with policy depth hidden under layers of memes? But let me pivot to another arena where competition is fierce and the stakes are high, cookie showdowns. What's your ultimate cookie, Simon? Are you a classic chocolate chip loyalist, or do you venture into the oatmeal raisin or snickerdoodle territory? Let's lay it on the table. What's the champ of the cookie world?
Ah, the meme election of 2023. Let me paint you a picture. It was pandemonium online, hashtags flying, GIFs parading through feeds like it was Mardi Gras. Platforms turned political animals overnight. Instagram threw the first punch, or should I say, the first filter. Campaign promises were all about aesthetic improvements to the country, more sunsets and latte art everywhere you look. Facebook. Well, that old-timer played the nostalgia card. Its platform was bring back the good old days, complete with photo albums and poking, whatever that meant. Twitter stayed sharp, quick debates, limited characters. The campaign slogan, making policies fit in your pocket. Clever, but risky for those complex issues. Then came TikTok, the underdog, turning political rallies into viral dance challenges. Who knew policy could be so rhythmic? But Reddit, oh Reddit, the sneak attack. A coalition of subreddits forming an alliance like a plot twist in a blockbuster movie. Imagine every speech, every debate, a whirlwind of trending memes. Every candidate promising to upvote your life or make sure no DM goes unread. Campaign trail mix-ups became instant classics. Typos became policy pledges. As the election heated up, alliances shifted. LinkedIn tried to add everyone as a connection. Pinterest kept pinning policy boards, and Snapchat just kept disappearing every time there was a hard question. The results? Well, let's just say it was close, but we all won with the laughs. In the end, the true power of social media was shown not in polls, but in trending topics and the shared joy of LOLs across the world. Democracy at its finest, one meme at a time.
The meme election sure sounds like it takes the cake, or should I say, the cookie? It speaks volumes to the fun we can have when we don't take ourselves too seriously. It seems like memes can create more unity than division sometimes. But hey, I want to touch on a real head-scratcher that's got nothing to do with the digital world. Let's talk about the curious case of Agatha Christie's disappearance. The queen of mystery novels gave us an actual whodunit to mull over. She goes missing in 1926, and for 11 days, not a trace. Then poof, she turns up at a hotel, registered under a pseudonym. Some say amnesia, others whisper it was a stunt, but wouldn't you agree it's one of the greatest real-life mysteries?
Absolutely, Joe. A real-life plot twist from the mystery master herself.
Truth stranger than fiction. Christie's life rivaled her novels.
Oh, for sure. Agatha Christie's disappearance is the kind of plot you'd expect from her books, not her life. One December night in 1926, after an argument with her husband, she just vanished, leaving behind her car hanging off a road near a quarry. Massive manhunt ensued. Police, Volunteers, even fellow writers like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, tried to suss out her whereabouts using one of her own dogs, would you believe it? And then, as if by magic, she turns up over a week later at a hotel in Harrogate, chilling under an assumed name, claiming no memory of what happened. Talk about life imitating art. Some people speculated she was trying to frame her husband, who was having an affair. Others thought she might have been in a fugue state, a rare psychological phenomenon. But truth be told, the details stayed as murky as a London fog. She never spoke publicly about it and left nothing in her autobiography to explain the event. Most agree it was likely related to her emotional distress, but leave it to Christie to keep us guessing beyond the last page. A mystery within a mystery, eh?
All right, listeners, it's been a real ride. Meme elections, the enigma of Agatha Christie, and then some. Thanks for lending us your ears. Remember, life's one big podcast episode with no pause button, so keep tuning in to the wonders around you. Catch us back here tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern for another round of mind-bending banter. Until then, this is Joe signing off. Stay curious, stay awesome, and never stop searching for your joy rubber band.